I think we are live. Good evening. My name is Dariusz. I will say the whole thing, Dariusz Karpowicz. So if you can repeat that, that's great. And this is the second episode of a live series of episodes called Your Home is Your Castle. You can see that here. With me is Agent Tom. Hi, Tom. How are you today?
Hi, Dariusz. I'm good. Thank you very much. Are you all right?
I am. Thank you.
Good.
So can you maybe tell everyone what topic will we talk about today?
Okay. Good morning. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tomasz Krusun, and together with Dariusz, we have prepared the series of lives. Today's topic is going to be the process of buying the property in the UK with the mortgage. So there will be a couple of subjects which we're going to address today. One of them is how to prepare yourself for the mortgage, checking the affordability, how to collect deposits and what is a deposits, solicitors, as well as together with how we're going to choose the lender for the mortgage and type of valuation. So, Dariusz, let's start. The first one.
Okay. Before we start, we need to have a disclaimer, like a legal disclaimer, which is required whenever we mention the word mortgage or that we're going to talk about it. The disclaimer is on the screen now. So basically your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on a mortgage or any other debts secured on it.
Let me just add it that this live series of lives, they are not like an advice. It's just for the information purpose. So if you need advice, just we can actually meet after the meeting, or you can just send us the request.
Yeah, it's not mortgage advice because for us to give anyone mortgage advice, we would need to ask a lot of questions. So if someone asks a questions during this live event, we strongly encourage everyone to ask questions if you have any questions connected with the topic, or you can just say hi in the comments. Then this is not advice. To get proper advice, you need to contact a mortgage broker, and if you know or see anyone like that, feel free, to contact that person.
Okay, then. So let's start from the first. And I'm going to say a bit about how to prepare for the mortgage. Technically, it might be quite advanced process. In some cases, it might take a couple of months. Usually, it's a couple of weeks, where we need to check all your personal circumstances. We need to have a view into your payslips, or if you are self-employed, we need to see your documents of self-employment. Or if you are the owner of the limited company, we need to see the paper from that one as well. Together with the bills, we need to see the proof of your address. We need to see your payslips, bank statements. So there is a couple of documents which we need to prepare in advance for us as brokers to be able to identify the best solution and the best mortgage. Okay, then, Dariusz, we have spoke about the credit reports on the last episode, which is also the part of the process of preparation for the mortgage. Would you like to add anything else? What to prepare for a start? What do you need?
Yes. So there is different ways you can try to apply for a mortgage. You can go to your bank. You can use a broker. Sometimes you can use a broker that works with the estate agent where you are purchasing your property from. But to be best prepared, the documents that are needed are the same, really. I mean, you need to prove your income, like payslips documents, payslips when you are employed, and other documents when you are self-employed or limited company director. You need to make sure that your credit history, which, as Tom mentioned, is not bad, that you don't have bad credit history. Points are not as important as whatever is inside your credit report, but you can see the whole episode about it. We are talking about it for half an hour, I think. It's best if you are on the electoral roll that you register to vote. You don't have to vote. I mean, you should, if you have the right to vote, so you should vote, but it's very important to be on the register. No one, like the lender, doesn't check if you vote because it's not published anywhere. There is no record of it. Make sure that you have the correct address everywhere. So if you recently moved from one address to another, make sure that your bank statement, your credit cards, that you updated the address with every provider you can think of, really. So that's very important when preparing to get a mortgage, because if you have different addresses, it can confuse the lender, and the lender, the automatic system that gives the first decision, you might get a decline because the system doesn't know where you live if you have a few addresses currently, so you didn't change them to the one address that you are staying at. Especially if you have a new job, like a recent job within the last 3-6 months, you might be asked to show your contract of employment. So make sure you have your contract of employment. There are times where we ask clients for that and they sort of don't have it, or it's somewhere online, or their employer promised to give it to them. So if you want to prepare to get a mortgage, make sure you have a copy of your contract handy.
I can just add it that some people getting a benefit on different kinds. So if you have any letters from HMRC confirming that, it's good to have them and keep collecting all the documents and information, because they will all be going to be counted to counting your affordability. Okay, then. So let's actually talk about affordability. I'm going to talk, if you don't mind, I'll explain what is that. So it means, in the very basic words, how much the bank is willing to lend you. Different banks, different criteria, different affordability formulas. They might have like a income multiplication. However, that's also important is what is your financial liabilities, how much you're actually owing, for the other loans or the credit cards. So all of those information provided to the banks. They will be able to assess your affordability, and it might be significant difference between one bank and another. Some banks, let's say, they might lend you, or they're willing to lend you something like £100,000. The other banks might be 150, and there might be some banks which are okay to lend you something like 200,000. So it's important that someone who is doing your affordability has access to the wide varieties of the banks. There are banks for everyone. There are banks for people with a little bit affected credibility, which is based on your previous paying back of the commitments, like loans or credit cards. So there are banks, for different situations. Okay, then, Dariusz, anything else from you to that point?
To affordability, that a lot of the times we have clients who go to their bank to get a mortgage. That's only natural. And the lender says you can only borrow this much. I don't know, let's say 100,000, and they are looking to borrow 200,000. So there's more than 100 lenders out there. And in our day-to-day job, we find that one lender in the same circumstances for the same family can give an affordability figure of, I don't know, 50,000, and another lender with the same scenario can give 150 or 200. So each lender has different rules. They treat differently, I don't know, loans, credit cards. So it's important to remember that if your mortgage is not affordable with one lender, it might be affordable with another. So it's best to check the whole of market, as Thomas mentioned.
There is also a myth saying, some people say that if I have a bank account with a particular bank, let's say for the last 5-10 years, there is a myth that these banks will actually gonna be giving more money, or willing to lend more money than another. It's always not the case, and we have some clients which have been in the banks for the last 10 years, and they have been rejected in their own banks. So therefore, we need to look for alternative banks which actually suit their circumstances. So
yes, that's a very good point. In most cases, the bank won't treat you any different, really, if you apply to the bank where you have your bank account with. So don't be shy. Look at all other lenders. There's just over 100 of them, and by all means, get an offer or an illustration of a mortgage from your lender, but compare it with others. Don't assume that it's the best offer you can get. That's
one point to just add it what you just said, Dariusz, is that I do not recommend going from the banks to the banks and asking for the money, because that means for the banks that you are the money hungry. it's better to go to the broker or to the someone who has access to the numbers of banks, and they can do this sort of the credit checks across all the banks, together. So I can recommend, doing this once with someone who has some system or is a specialist, in the area.
Do you know anyone like that, Tom?
Of course, you and me.
Cool. Yeah. So and it would be hard to go to 100 different lenders to have an appointment or like a 2-hour phone conversation, because that's what usually how long it takes for each lender to assess a client, about 2 hours. So that will be 200 hours to get the picture from all the lenders. So I mean, it can ruin your credit history if all of the lenders will do a credit search, and it's 200 hours out of your life which you can spend in a better way, I guess.
Fine. The next point, deposit, and it's always a case. Many people has been limited of the money collected for the deposits. In the current climate, there is like 10%. That's what you should have it as a minimum to be able to. To be purchased the property. There are programs like Help to Buy, and we're going to talk about Help to Buy in one of the future episodes, where it's required to possess only 5% of the deposit, where the rest is being lended from the government in the easy, in the few words. But like I said, 10% is something what you need to collect it. There are some criteria which you have to meet or the deposit to be legitimate for the banks and for the solicitors. It has to come from the legitimate source, of course. Then the normal source is a savings, and people keep saving money for the deposits. However, some banks accepting a gifted deposits, usually from the immediate family, like brother, mother, sister, or father, or some banks also accepting from friends or cousins. So there are some cases where the bank is willing to lend you some money, where the deposits is coming as a gifted deposit from your colleagues, let's say. Dariusz, anything for this point?
Yeah, there is a misconception that you need to show where the deposit was in the last 3 months. The main thing here is it's not that it needs to be in your account 3-6 months or whatever. The solicitor and us as brokers, we need to know where did you get it from. So if you had a transfer of £50,000 in the last month, you have to prove where it came from and why. I've had cases where people had significant amounts for deposit, and solicitor asked for 2 years of bank statements or a way of proving that. So I would also add that there is just a few lenders, just a handful of lenders, where you can have a deposit coming from a loan. You have to be very, very careful when going that way, because that loan that you take to have a deposit to purchase a property will be taken into affordability. So you have to make sure that when you take that loan, your mortgage is still affordable. And also you have to make sure that you are comfortable with paying sort of 2 monthly payments, one for mortgage and one for a loan. But it is doable. There is a few lenders, it's very limited options really, but there is a few lenders who would accept that. So that's it, I think, about that point.
Yeah. So let's talk about the next one, which is always another myth about the conveyancing, which is the solicitors. They are an integral part of the process of purchasing the property. The myth stated that the solicitors, they need to come from your town. It's not the case. We are working with some solicitors which are actually on the other part of the country. So you do not have to even see them yourself. Everything now in this climate, in these times, is done over the internet, over the phones. So there is no need to just go to see them yourself. Yes, let's say in the last year, many offices of solicitors has been opened, and you were going there to just prove your ID. However, in this moment, you can do it on your post office as well for a couple of pounds. Dariusz, anything from you for that point?
Yes, I strongly agree that you see that a lot, that people are looking for a local solicitor. I mean, I'm not saying they are bad. You could have a good local solicitor, but it doesn't matter because even before, Tom, even before COVID, because this live is in times of lockdowns and COVID, and sometimes even local solicitors wouldn't see you. They would talk with you over the phone, and you would just go there and show a secretary or someone your ID, so they could take a copy of your ID. So the main thing to remember about conveyancing is if you are buying with a mortgage, you have to have a solicitor. I've heard you don't have to if you are buying with cash, but I've never heard of a case where someone actually did that process on their own. But I've heard it's not necessary, although, I didn't hear of a single transaction. I mean, I wasn't aware of, or any of my friends or my clients, that where they bought cash, they didn't use a solicitor. With a mortgage, you have to have a solicitor. What else solicitor does? Or maybe I'll say 2 or 3 words. So the solicitor makes sure that the seller owns the property, have full rights. The solicitor makes sure from the other side that if there is a mortgage, when you are purchasing from someone who has a mortgage, that is paid off. They also conduct searches. There's a lot of searches. We won't go into detail because we could have a whole live about searches. But basically, they are checking for things that are wrong with the area that you are buying the property, or the title to the property, or the property itself, or that whether an extension was built and it's a legal extension that passed all the required regulations. So that's what conveyancing does to you. There is some talks in the news that they want to speed up the process of conveyancing, because in normal times, on average, it took 2 months. Now it's about 3 months. It isn't like a dated process. It would not a lot changed there in the last 30 years, I would imagine. So maybe we will, in a year's time, have a faster process to purchase a property. Okay, I will stop about conveyancing because
we could talk more about that, but let's actually change the subject and the topic. So how to choose the right lender, and we have partly answered that question. The idea is to not to do it yourself. The better is to just go to your financial
unless
broker.
You are a mortgage broker, because mortgage brokers can I think they can confidently choose the best deal for them. But if you are not buying a house every week, if you try to do it yourself, you could, but the amount of research and knowledge you have to get to make the right decision, I don't personally think it's worth the hassle.
So as Dariusz just explained, don't do it yourself. Go to someone who is living this day after day and has a knowledge and a system to do it at once. So it saves you lots of money and lots of effort. And like I has answered before, that it depends of your credibility, which is based on your system, or rather the regime, how well you have paid off your previous debts, as well as your affordability, which means that it's depending how much money the bank is willing to lend you. So to do that, we have a system for that. So if you're looking for to just find out what is the best lender in your particular case, it's easier to talk to someone who is familiar with the subject, like a financial advisor. Dariusz, anything for this? Or we can talk about the next one, which is the valuation.
Okay, let's talk about the next one. So, okay. I want to add a sentence, I think, because that's an important bit as well. We are talking about us, really, but brokers also do have the knowledge what will be accepted by a certain bank and what won't be. So, for example, if you are self-employed and you just have 1 year of accounts, so you started a year ago, most lenders won't accept you. So you can go to your lender, I won't tell any names, but your bank where you have a bank account, and they will say, no, we won't give you a mortgage. Definitely, you need to have at least 2 years accounts. And all of the most common criteria, you could wake us up at 4 a.m. and we would know which lenders would do that. Or if you are an agency worker, or if you are a contractor, or if you just started your job, or better, if you didn't even start your job, you just got a job offer letter. There are lenders who will accept that as income. Or if you do a lot of overtime, or if your property is quirky, because one thing is that your scenario might be not ideal for all lenders, so agency job, or if you are on maternity leave, things like that. The other thing is about the property. So we that's our job, basically. It's our job to know where to apply, and it's our we know what chances a certain scenario has with different lenders, so you can save a lot of time, basically.
And if we do not know it, we have a contact with BDMs, which is the business development managers within each banks, so we can always ask the questions to just find out, in the quickest way. Okay, then. So the next one, and I think we are closing. I mean, we are getting closer to the end. Is valuation. There is 3 types of valuation. There is also the misconception, or rather, the myth, stating that that the valuation will actually find out some errors with the property, and they're gonna tell you, if your boiler is when was your boiler changed, and is there any structural damage, and so on. Yes, there are some types of valuation. The paid one, which is there's a home buyers report, the paid one, as well as the structural survey. But in the most cases, the free one, which is basic valuation, is just to find out if the property is an adequate security for the banks to borrow you some money. So this is the basic one, usually is for free. And that's it. Dariusz, anything to that topic?
Yeah. So if you are viewing houses and you find the one you want to put an offer in, and there is something you aren't sure of, like there is a crack in the wall, get a proper survey, because the mortgage valuation won't check what's causing it. Will not know if that's a serious problem or not. So it's a very common misconception that the lender will check the property. They don't. They just check the value of the property.
And in the past times, there was like a drive-through valuation, when the valuator was just driving by, and then he was just seeing, from the street, if the house is still there, and if it has a roof and the windows, and that was a valuation.
Yeah. Or sometimes he couldn't see that if he drove fast. So there were drive-by valuations. I think the lender stopped them 2 years ago. Yeah, so the valuer was driving. That's the house there, and that's the valuation done. He went home, sat in front of his computer, and the most important thing for the value of the property is what were the sale prices of properties nearby, up to a half a mile, let's say, and in the same type of property. So if you are buying a 3-bed semi, they checked for recent sale prices of 3-bed semis, and this is the main factor of how they value it.
Okay, then. Yeah, good one. Mortgage offer. So when everything has been accepted, you are meeting the lender's criteria. They have accept your proof of income. They have accept your address. The valuation has gone through and is actually has a status accepted. The lender will send you something what is called mortgage offer. That means that they are willing to borrow you some money, and then that means that you are actually getting the mortgage. It's like the last piece of puzzle what we have been waiting for. At that moment, we have a promise from the bank that we can actually buy the house. The mortgage offer state, and there's like a document, couple of pages document, which contains all of the most important features and the topics, like what's your interest, what is your term of mortgage, what is the ERC, which is early repayment charge, about your responsibilities within the property. So it means you do have to keep the property well maintained, and you do have to pay the mortgage, or pay the monthly installments, I would say. You do have to have a general insurance, like a building insurance for that. So it just contains all of those bits and bobs. Dariusz, anything to that topic?
Mortgage offer is happy days. The lender has checked the property and you, so your income, your credit history, and is okay. It's very unlikely, but it can happen that they withdraw the mortgage offer, and it's a nightmare, really, because what could trigger the cancellation of a mortgage offer is that you take new commitments in the meantime, or in the meantime you get a county court judgment. So some lenders, or on some occasions, lenders, before the completion date, so where you get an offer, you finish until solicitors finish their conveyancing process, the lender, before sending the funds for your mortgage to the solicitor, might do a credit check. and if he's not happy with that credit check, he can cancel the mortgage offer, really. So we always tell that to clients. If you got a mortgage offer, don't take out any unnecessary commitments. Well, any commitments, really. Keep your credit histories clean still, because in very rare circumstances, but it is possible that mortgage offer will be cancelled, will not proceed, basically.
True. Okay, then I think that we are just stepping to the close of this episode. In the next one, we're gonna talk about more about the process of buying the property. So once again, thank you for staying with us. My name is Tomasz Krusun, and I see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, thank you very much, Dariusz Karpowicz. This was Your Home is Your Castle. There wasn't any questions today, but if you are watching this not live, please do ask questions. We will reply to everyone. If you have any ideas or topics that you wish we would talk about and explain to you live, also, please make a comment, and we will try to have an episode about that. So see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you.